Chapter 1 Introduction, Section 1 General 1.1 Purpose, R210 200-1. Chapter 1 Introduction, Section 1 General 1.1 Purpose, Regulation and Implementations, Federal, State, Local environmental laws, DoD policies for preserving, protecting, conserving, and restoring the quality of environment. The regulation should be used in conjunction of 32 Code of Federal Regulations, CFR Part 651, 32 CFR 651, which provides Army policies of National Environmental Policy Act of NEPA, 42 U.S. Standard Code 43214347, requirements, supplemental program guidances with prominent of the regulations may issue and need to assure the programs remain current. Environmental stewardship includes but is not limited to environmental components of installation substantiability. Then 2, the environmental support of Army training and testing. 3, environmental support deployments and contingency of operations on and off installation operations, Army facilities that are not officially designated in installation. 4, compliance of related cleanup CC program, the Army Defense Environmental Restoration Program, the DERP, formerly used of Defensive System FUDs, Defense State Memorandum Agency Cooperative Agreement, DSMOA-CA, as in Department of State Memorandum of Agreement and Cooperative Agreement and Program, population prevention, compliance with environmental legal mandates, natural resources, cultural resources, environmental protection, expects for the pest management, environmental training of military and civil personnel, base for alignment closure, BRC environmental program, NEPA requirements, operational noise, environmental quality technology, EQT environmental legislative regularity analysis monitoring program, EL/RAMP. That is the Environmental Legislative Regulatory Analysis Monitoring Program. Environmental Reporting Information Management. 20, Environmental Considerations and Real Estate Material Acquisition Programs. B, the regulation defines the framework of the Army Environmental Management System, EMS, and all appropriate facilities were implemented in mission-focused EMSs in calendar year CY05 must attain the International Organization Standard 1401, ISO 14001, conformancy to the end of FY09. The Army EMS Commander's Guide, the Army EMS Implementation Guide, the Army EMS Aspect Impact Methodology. The Army training ranges provide detailed implementation guidance. The chapter's regulation of the reflected inclusion of 5 connected EMSs are areas of planning, implementation, operation, checking for corrective action, management review policy, the Army environmental policy statement of the Army commitment, environmental protection, enhancement, pollution prevention, continual improvement. The planning implementation of the Army identifies the operation of the environment that it will object targets and reducing impacts, and will identify the applicable legal or other requirements will support operational effectiveness and improve the management. 3, the proper management operation of the Army will assign a responsibility to environmental management. Section 2 of Chapter provide of required environmental training, establishing procedures of communication within and outside of the organization, documentation of environmental procedures, providing the emergency preparedness in response to Chapter 15, checking and corrective. The Army will monitor or measure and progress, achieve static objectives and targets will be identified, implementation, corrective actions. In Chapter 6, the management review, the Army periodically review performance, management system implementation, ensuring continual improvement. 1-2 references related to the publication prescribed and reference formed and listed in Appendix A. 1.3 explanations, abbreviations of the term, abbreviations, special terms or regulations are explained in the glossary. Section 2, the responsibilities, Secretary of the Army. The Secretary of the Army, SA, serves as a trustee, natural, cultural resource management of the Army. The SA, the Secretary of the Army, is protecting and sustaining a quantity of air, land, water resources entrusted in the Army. The Secretary of the Army signs the Army Environmental Policy Statement, certifies the Army Environmental Program and Objective Memorandum, the MOP. The Army Environmental Program Objective is MOP. The environmental restoration of the program is ERP, meets all legal requirements and agreements. 1.5. The Assistant Secretary of the Army Installation Environment, the Assistant Secretary of the Army Installation Environment, ASA, and I&E, and primary responsibility for the Army's environmental programs that is other civil works is in CW and functions in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineering, USACE, as responsibility for the carried out the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army Environmental Safety, Occupational Health, DASA, ESOH, who will provide overall policy advocacy, program direction, oversight of across installation, logistics, acquisitions, operations. This includes necessary limited to military operations activities, including training and deployments to contingency operations, on and off installation operations at the Army facilities that are not officially designated installation or sites, and establish long-term strategy and annual AEPO goals, objectives, metrics. Army's top management representatives of the Army EMS provide policy oversights of the EMS responsibility per ISO 14001. Regulation serves as the Army senior policy level of historic preservation in accordance with the Executive Order EO 13287, preserve American federal preservation over the oversight coordination of Army activities under the National Historic Preservation NHPA, including in approving a signing an Army National Register of Historical Places nomination, federal owned and controlled historical historical property, serve as primary point of contact of Office Secretary of Defense, OSD, Congress, or other federal state agencies other than the components environmental managers on the behalf of the Secretary of the Army, carry out the DoD executive agent responsible for following the OSD's the Office of the Secretary of Defense Environmental Information Technology Management, the EITM, the FUDs, and DSMLA, low-level radioactive waste, LRW, low-level radioactive waste, Defensive Occupational Health Program, the DOHP, the National Defense Civil and Environmental Excellence, the NDCE, the DoD Regional Activity, Regional Environmental Coordinators, REC, DoD Forestry Reserve Account, Environmental related annexes and master data exchange agreements, provided policy advisory program direction oversight for the formerly use of defense sites, FUDs, bases, relining closure, BRAC, and Army Defense Environmental Restoration Program. Improve for the selection of Army representatives in service, interagency, environmental communities. J, provide oversight coordination with strategic outreach and communication. K, the provide policy advocacy program directions, oversights of the Army EQT. Serve as a permanent co-chair in Environmental Technology Technical Committee, ETTTC, consolidated with priorities of Army and environmental technology needs of cost-effective allocations of available resources consistent with the Army Program Guidance Memorandum, APG, and provide policy advisory program direction, oversight, environmental support of Army acquisition processes, or one conjunction of the Assistant Secretary of the Army Acquisition Logistic Technology, ASA, ALT, an annual Army Environmental Quality Research Development Testing Evaluation, RDT, and E, and efforts, and provide representation of overarching integrating product systems, OIPT, supporting Army systems of acquisition review councils, ASARC, to ensure the materials of all acquisition categories to meet the requisites and environmental criteria to the milestone reviews, provide recommendations of the milestone decision authorities regarding program environmental quality requirements, review all weapon systems acquisition programs to potential or impacts of environmental quality of Army installations, review Army weapon systems acquisition program environmental quality costs and participants to the Army Cost Reviews Board, CRB, providing representation of weapon system cost working in integrated production team, IPTS, develop improved fundings of environmental programs coordination, Assistant Secretary of the Army Financial Management, Comptroller, ASA, FMNC, and with the ASA, ALT, and RDT, and E efforts. Approve of all Army Environmental Input Program Objective Memorandum, POM, and Directions Priority Guidance. Approve the AEP, POM budget submission and resource allocations on finance requirements, UFRs, and budget adjusted a recommendation of the ACSIM coordination within the DCS, GA, and ASA, FMC. Ensure that Army's trustee ensure that the Army trust and responsibility government-to-government relationship with the federally recognized Indian tribes and fulfilled to improve the NHPA compliance agreements is required to approve integrate Army environmental policy institution. U.S. Army Environmental Command USAEC annual work plans provide supervision with program direction of the AEPI, including the PMO budget and UFR approvals. Consult the ACSIM selection of director of environmental program DEP and serve an intermediate rater of the DEP commander USAEC and provide their performance objectives. Act as a co-chair ACSIM for HQDA Environmental Quality Control Committees, the EQCC. Provide the direction, delegate specific actions with the Army DoD, REC, and Management Operational Regional Environmental Offices, the REOs, to serve the permanent co-chair of the DoD Operational Environmental Executive Steering Committee on the Munitions. OEESCM report annual to the SACSAA EP execution serves as a point of contact and external audits of the AEP and provide congressional testimony in regards to the Congress, provide problematic environmental scoping planning to the international, including National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA strategy, strategic environmental assessment, C and AG oversee AEIP and support the natural environments to include the range age and EPD addresses overseas installation activities. Integrate energy and pollution and prevention of the EMS, integrate ESHOs and programs activities with force protection, national security. AK execute the ELRAMP. The Assistant Secretary of the Army Financial Management Controller, the Assistant Secretary of the Army Financial Management Controller, the ASAFMNC will issue the planning program, budgeting, and execution PPB system policy, finding authorization, documentations of FAD, photo notice of conservation, reimbursement, forestry, agricultural grazing, outlet lease program, guidance of environmental programs, fish and wildlife conservation at Fund of 21X 5095, appointments and coordination of ASI and INE, developing independent cost of estimate. This includes environmental quality of life costs and estimate at EQLCCE for each weapons of reconciled directive and EQLLCCE. The program office estimates that PO is developing of Army cost positions. The ACP collecting the report on environmental liabilities of Army's financial statement. N7, the Assistant Secretary of Army Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology, the Assistant Secretary of Army Logistics Technology, ASALT, will provide policy and guidelines, oversight, and technical assistance of acquisition and program managers, program executive officers required to ensure integration of environmental qualities, considering all aspects of the acquisition program. Plan program budget, execute environmental quality technology programs for EQT budget. 1, 2, and activity 1, 2, and 3 program initiatives in coordination with the ASAINE and maximum ability to Army to achieve the environmental strategy. Develop policies and procure material designed to minimize environmental impacts throughout the life of cycle while ensuring operation effectiveness. Develop policy in coordination with the ASAINE and acquisition of hazardous materials. Develop overseas initiatives to reduce volume toxicity of hazardous materials, ozone depletion substances, ODSs, and uses. Material review annual environmental quality technology RTD and E efforts in conjunction with the ASA and INE designation of the Director of Resource Laboratory Management OASA ALT, a permanent co-chair of the Environmental Technology Committee ETTC, with conjunction with the ACSIM consolidated. Prioritize Army and environmental technology needs to ensure cost-effective allocations of available resources consistent with the APGM. Integrated environmental consideration awarenesses into the acquisition program, training in accordance to the DoDD 5000.1, ensuring environmental quality to life cycle costs and clearly identified by the program officers, assessment and then property of Army Green Procurement Program, the GPP, and to facilitate the compliance of affirmative procurement requirements for recovered materials, bio-based items, and encourage acquisition and use of environmental world products and services. Ensure all ensure all requests of proposal, contracts, contract modifications, including requirements of the bidders, providing goods and services, installation, service, revised representation, certificates of competent proposals of operations of teaming, including subcontractor, consistent with the installation and Army's EMS and cooperate environmental and EMS requiring to inappropriate acquisition regulations or into appropriate acquisitions, regulations, policies, procedures, appointing a single single point of contact or coordinating an action at ACSIM DEP. Provide directory support Army Acquisition Community Program Executive Officers Program Project Manager regarding environmental affirmative procurement invitees concerning and providing requirements of the Army Acquisition Executive AAE, other decision authorities by the environmental issue associated with the material ASA/ALT mission functions. 2, to designate a single point of contact coordinating environmental issues related to material development, logistics, technology, headquarters, Department of Army, HQDA, component organization coordination, Office of the ASA, INE, ensuring execution of environmental policy acquisition managers. 1.8, the Chief of Public Affairs, the CPA, to provide policy guidance, oversight of public affairs, support of the Army environmental programs. B, to provide advice, recommendations on handling public affairs of the Section 552 of Title 5 of the United States Code 5, USC 552, requests related to the environmental program. 19, Deputy Chief of Staff G3, 5, and 7, Deputy Chief of Staff G3, 5, and 7, DCS G3, 5, and 7 is responsible for developing, coordinating policy programs and initiatives to achieve directed training readiness of the Army serves overall integrated Army transformation of the DCS 357 will serve as a focal point of spectrum activities encompassing force development, combat development, training development, resource management, prioritization, establish priority requirements, Army ranges, training lands, exercise overall supervision, direction management, oversight of sustaining range program, SRP, specific responsibility, SRP resides in Chief Training Support System Division, DAMO, TRS, who will serve as HQDA functional proponents for SRP core programs, formulate policy, administration, project guidance, instruction, implementation, sustaining the core of programs, Army commands, ACOMs, the Army Service Components Command, ACACS, and direct reporting of DRUs and the Army National Guard, RANG, and headquarters installation management command, HQ, IMCOM. Format, policies, planning, program, operating, and managing ranges, training lands, and specifically how the Army will be a resource operations modernization range of training land program, land management and maintenance through the integrated training Army integrated training area management ITAM program, the integrated range of requirements overall Army infrastructure investment strategies in conjunction with the Office Assistant Chief of Staff Installation Management OACSIM, certain centrally funded unexploded ordinances UXO clearances of range modernization or projects, central funded preparation and NEPA documentation for a range of modernization project from major training land to acquisition, coordination, synchronization, ranging of training land to policy to preclude configuration of ranging operations, military training, knowledge, cultural resources management, environmental management, facility management, and master plan activities. Serve as a co-chair Army Range Sustaining Integration Council, the ARSIC. 110, the Deputy Chief of Staff G4 and Deputy Chief of Staff G4 will identify the program, secure the funds to address the environmental aspects of the foundation for the DCS, and G4 is responsible and cooperate environmental consideration requirements and into all aspects of the DCS G4 mission to include the material management, logistics support, supply, transportation management, maintenance management, logistics training, serve as a staff proponent to policy deployment, environment pertaining hazard material minimization management to include inventory management of AR-710-2, ensure that timely hazard material HM handling package transportation training is provided by personnel continental United States, CONUS overseas as required, serves as a proponent implementation of military munitions rule and execute quarantine responsibilities for transportation logistics. 111. The Deputy Chief of Staff G8 the Deputy Chief of Staff G8 DCS G8 will provide Army Cross-Peg Program and Evaluation Program Group and funding processes of guidance to ensure cost-effective compliance with environmental legal mandates to optimize benefits of Army mission operations. B. Ensure that is given a resource of allocation of cost-effectively resolves the environmental aspect, impact, and mission operations need to equip it and sustain it and train it in order our cooperative combat forces. Review requirements. Senior missions commanders, Army Command, Army Service Component Command, Direct Op reporting. ACOM, ACC, and DRUs, direct reporting. Commanders, the Acquisition Program Managers, Garrison Commanders, the address compliance with the legal environmental mandates, resolve environmental aspects impacting the mission and operations, review planning requirements and Army environmental program in coordination with the Assistant Chief of Staff and Installation Management (ACSIM), conduct annual review of resource allocated to sustain Army environmental compliance and overhead investment in most of it cost-effective manners. Commander, U.S. Army Corps Engineering. The Commander, U.S. Army Corps of Engineering, USA, will administrate Clean Water Act CWA Section 404 permanent program pertaining to the discharge of dreaded fill and material waters wasted in the United States, provided additional environmental Army and other DoD elements requested, provide environmental support to other federal, state, local agencies where tasks, provide Army DURUP execution support, reimbursement to installation district centers and expertise of hazardous toxic radioactivity waste and HTRW, the munition explosives and concern of MECA administration DSMOA-CA program of the Assistant Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Environmental Safety Occupational Health ADUSD ESHO and Execution Agency of FUDS program consistent with the FUDS Charter and established FUDS requirement policy guidance line program management planning program execution data access, quality control, performance measurements, provide provide technical support, implementation, sustaining design, development, and SDD practices, including incorporating SDD, sustaining project, reading tool, spirit, environmental criteria, and Army project design, construction. Note, beginning FY08, spirit will be released in the Leadership Engineering, Energy Environmental Design LEED. All new in construction must be LEED and Silver standard, and cooperate environmental requirements into appropriate USA activities and point to a single point of contact for coordinating action. ACSIM deep approve integration of USA's Engineering Research Development Center ERDC EQT program and provide all overview of all policy directions of the ERDC. 113. Assistant Chief of Staff for Installation Management. The Assistant Chief of Staff and Installation Management the ACSIM, will serve as the HQDA headquartered DA proponent for the DAEP and establish priorities, guidance, procedures, installation operations, real management, property management, environmental stewardship for all activities, functions within the Army garrison, promote environmental stewardship, sustaining and support of ASA and INE, and incorporated environmental into appropriate regulations, guidance documents, procedures to support environmental stewardship. Co-chair headquarters DA environmental review analysis within the ASA and INE, issue appropriate program finding and guidance to ACOM, ASCC, DRUs, and NGB and Army National Guard headquarters IMCOM special installation to support development environmental program component with the program objective Miranda the POM, the development directive planning and program budget execution environmental components of the installation program evaluation group 2 PEG and programs needed to sustain readiness, comply to appropriate federal, state, local laws, executive order, DoD directive overall. Oversees final governing standards and international treaties, states of forces agreements, SOFAs, in accordance with the General Order 3 APGM. This specifically includes the basic operations support and serves Activities addressed in the following management decision packages: MDEPS and VENCA environmental compliance, VENA and environmental conservation, VERMER environmental support ranges and munitions, VEP pollution prevention, VUC environmental technology, ENVR environmental restoration, direct execution environmental components installation program, evaluation group, 2PEG program, serve as a proponent Army compatible use of buffer, ACUB program, perform EA duties of DoD force reserve accountability coordination, DASA ASHO, provide representation environmental installation concern Army requirements oversight of council, ARLC, provide guidance in cooperation of Barack and oversighting responsibility environmental military munitions response program, MMRP, through ACSIM Barack Division of DAIMBD. The Army Combat Development or CBT DEV, the installation, generate, validate, prioritize environmental RDT and E and requirements of a member and Environmental Technology Technical Council ETTC, and serve as a proponent of Army SDD facility procures and cooperated with process planning, design, construction, operating, maintaining, renovating, and disposing and installation facilities, serving technical advisors, the ASA and INE, and environmental matters impacting installation, sustaining material operations, support, promote integration, installation, sustain across all functions, for example, logistics, environmental training, engineering, maintaining organization. OACSIM will provide ASA and INE and other directed environmental quality impact analysis, EQ and INA, provide weapon systems acquisition program decision reviews, provide technical support, ASA and FMNC, environmental quality for life cycle cost estimates as a part of an Army cost reviews process required upon request of assistance programs to integrate environmental quality and consideration into all aspects of acquisition program. The implementation of the guidance to eliminate ODS, the use of the Army installations, issue implementation guidance within respect to endangered species, critical habitat designation, provide annual authorities for forestry, agricultural, grazing, hunting, critical habit designation, provide annual authorities for the foster, agricultural, grazing, hunting, fishing fee reimbursement program, serve as intentional denial authority acts of FOA and I, request of the records pertaining to environmental activities other than litigation, management, environmental restoration, Army ERNA account and management environmental program, responsible for the base operation boss, be it the Office of the Direct Environmental Programs, the ODEP, and ODEP will serve as HQ, the headquarters DA for functional proponent for the Army Environmental Program, the AEP. The headquarter oversight of the AEP reflects over the Army compliance, stewardship, sustainability, and readiness priorities, formulate Army guidance instructions, implementation, sustaining A&E, and coordinating A&E requirements will appropriate our organization to preclude confliction of synchronizing activities among operations, training, real property program, master planning, identifying planning program, budget, support, depending on the military resources requirement for the exercise. AEP exercise primary Army staff ARSTAFA responsibility to oversee, manage, and coordinate with Army military. Environmental program is described in subparagraph 1 and 1A1A20, including forces utilization progress towards goals, objectives of 2PEG funded program services. Proponent of the Army Environmental Awards, and D, the established configuration of Control Management Board, CCBMB, to advise DEP of the Army Environmental Reporting Matters, develop guidance, implementation, utilization, coordination, geospatial information services with the environmental program. 10, the exercises of AR staff have responsibility to collect, coordinated, integrated, and U.S. requirements of the EQT program, the environmental requirements, technical technology assessment of the ARETA, a process of 11 participate in EQT to ensure the EQT uses needed effective addresses, provided guidance recommendations on all issues related to the ACSIM currency policies, PPPE, and CC program, Army DRP, including installation restoration program, RRP, MMRP, and BRAC, cleanup and provides, and 13 provided oversight and resource requirement Certification guidance to execution of the FUDS programs to ensure that the program execution consists with the FUDS charter, provide oversight of the environmental performance assessment system EPAS. It serves as 15 serves as executive secretary of the DoD Operational Environmental Executive Steering Committee for the munitions of OESCM, headquarters at EQCC. Serves as chairman for DoD Hazardous Waste Management Subcommittee. Serves as the co-chairman of ARCSIC. Executes EMS responsibility per ISO 14001 regulations. Monetary execution AEP conformity EMS. Established the implementation guidance of the environmental reporting system. 21 providing upward reporting progress and meeting AEP goals, objectives, headquarters leadership, OSD, and Congress development appropriate Army-wide standards metric to the AEP designed to ASCSMI representatives, voting members of Army Force Pest Management Board AFP MB designate Army senior consultant ASC DoD certification officials of Army civilian personnel, DoD policies and procedures, maintaining efficiency, well-trained workforces, 25, coordinating AEP strategic outreach, 26, managed conservation reimbursement for forestry, agricultural grazing, outreach, fish, wildlife conservation installation, specific automatic reimbursement authorization of forestry, of agricultural grazing in installation. 114 Commander Installation Management Control of Commander Installation Management Command IMCOM executes obtained basement operations support for all installations under its purview of in compliance with applicable in law and regulations to include final government standards, FGS's international agreements overseas to support Army training, testing, and missions, integrated program guidance goals, issues across installation functional areas. For example, logistics, environmental training, engineering, and planning oversee management, installation, environmental program, provided program management reviews at ACSIM and DASA ESHO, monitor track environmental performance of regional officers and U.S. Army Reserves, Army installation execution, Army CC program development, annual program management, APM and P, consistent with the Army cleanup and strategy, strategic planning for the CC program, coordinate IMCOM issues of effective mission among the senior mission commanders, the CMCS, and ACOM's ASCC's DFRUs, and the garrison, coordinated with the execution of the EMAS program activity, Army through the USAEC, participate in environmental and awards activities appropriate, review, analyze, perform quality assurance and quality control at QA and QC, provide and improve environmental requirements of data required, reported installation, maintain efficient and well-trained workforces, coordinate DCS's G3, 5, and 7 ACOM's ASCC and DRU's directed plans, trainings, mobilization, security, DPDMS, and ensure IATAM programs requirement to implement aided in accordance with the DAMU TRS resources allocation and guidance and reporting progress and reporting and meeting AEP goals and objectives. HQDA leadership provide guidance and assistance to garrison, monitor execution, IMCOM support of the AEPs in accordance with the EMS, assistance with the IMCOM installation and negotiation with the regulatory agencies, recruit adverse missions that impact of inventory establishment of Army policy conflict, regulatory agreements, and provide AEP technical implementation and supporting the Commander USAEC, who will provide informational technical procedures, technical product services, supports of Army training, operations, acquisition, sounds of stewardship, managed assigned elements of Army cleanup program in accordance with the ACSIM, direction, guidance of development, execution, annual program, management plan, PMP, consistent with the Army cleanup strategy, strategic plan for the Army. DIR provide technical support for the pest management, provide program for the coordinated execution, EPAMS, the Army Activity Army, provide program management of the Army DIR and activity installation, execute policy guidance of the Army Environmental Reporting System, provide technical support of Chief Training Support Division Office DCS G3, 5, and 7 in support of SRP core programs, provide technical support of day-to-day operational oversight, conservation, reimbursement, forestry, agricultural grazing, outreach, and fee collection programs, provide technical support of DASA, ESAOH, and support of ASARC, CRB, provide technical support support for the Army EQT program as it relates to the installation issues, provide outreach support of the AEP, provide public affairs support of the AEP, maintain an efficient, well-trained workforce, provide hazardous material management program HMMP, operational oversight of DCG4 for the environmental hazardous management material management form, data collection and analysis HMMP, environmental information to procure, measure program assess. 115 Chief Army Reserve. The Chief Army of the Reserve Corps will ensure environmental sustaining operation, environmental prior AR STAF, advisors of the Army mission related environmental issues. C. The Army environmental policy implemented within the Army Reserve, ensure environmental stewardship is incorporated into all aspects of Army Reserve missions. Currently, IMCOM on materials of mutual interests and concerns. 116, the National Guard Director of Army National Guard, National Guard Bureau, Director of Army National Guard, NGBADRNG, will execute environmental sustained-based operations, support compliance with applicable laws and regulations to support Army training, testing, and missions, ensures NGBDARNG acquires, manages, and distributes for support resource development, instrumented policies and programs, serves as a channel of communication between Army and National Guard of the States, Territories, District of Columbia, serves as ARST of FAR, advisory RNG, environmental issues, single sign a point of designated representation, single all ARNG federal compliance agreements and consistent orders, environmental assessment findings, no significant impact pertaining to federal environmental documentation, coordinated HQDA RNGS organization to fill NGB RNGS SDFA role as an Army competent NGB RNGES role of installation management organization stated of the RNG as in the National Guard of Bureau of the Army National Guard roles in performing ACOM ASCC DRU function specifically day-to-day responsible for environmental management program resides in NGB RNG Chief Environmental Program CAP to carry out responsibility. NGB RNG CAP will ensure environmental sustaining operations planning, ensuring all the environmental policies implemented by the Army National Guard, ensure environmental stewardship is incorporated into all aspects of the Army National Guard mission, integrate program guidance in all issues according to the installation, functional, or example, logistics, environmental training, engineering, and planning in areas. Submit environmental-based support requirements OAC ISIM budget, executing environmental resources consistent with the program needs, developing an annual program management plan PMP consistent with the Army cleanup strategy, statistics with the Army CC program, provide program management reviews of the ACSIM, DASA, ESAOH, supplemental implementing guidance instruction is consistent with HQD guidance of environmental reporting of the state's reported program meetings of the AEP goals and objectives. The HQDA provides RA and GS guidance assistance monitoring execution NGB and RNGS portion of the AEP and guidance with the EMS schedule, conducting all aspects of the EPA audits, review, analyze the QA and quality assurance, quality control to approve environmental reporting submitted to the National Guard Bureau of the Army National Guard installations. The National Guard Bureau of the Army National Guard installation of an negotiation of regularity of agencies prevent the advisory mission due to the federal national calls for resources requirement. 13 support environmental reward activities, maintain efficient and well-trained workforces at federal owned and leased and NGB and RNG installation facilities of activated priorities, provide oversight facilities coordinated with remediation process, assist with the management execution ERA fund of the NGB RNG remediation sites and non-federal owned or federally supported NGBA RNG installation facility activities properties, provide guidance for oversight and execution monitoring report NGB RNG cleanup sites. 1117, the Judge Advocate General will provide a legal advisory Army environmental law materials except for advising civil works funds activities. Chief Environmental Law Division will exercise authorities on the behalf of TJAG will specifically as legal officers ASM ACSM in depth in regard to the environmental matters is advise the Army Secretary in coordination with the General Counsel provide technical channel supervision coordination, advise the Army lawyers involved with the Army environmental environmental matters, to monitor and provide Army regarding environmental legislation regarding regulatory developments of effective Army review and render and legal opinions, all develop drafting environmental orders and consistent with Army agreement settlement, federal, state, local regarding regulatory officials and set for the rising funds before signature provided assistance to ACOM, CCs, DRUs, IMCOM, NGB, and RNG installations and drafting negotiation interagency agreements in accordance with the inconsistent federal, state, local regulators. Be representing the Army, federal, state litigation and communication, Army position of litigation. The settlement debtor department of justice subject to general oversight of the General Counsel Service Agency, Army appropriate administrative cases and hearings, enforcement actions of the ENF, and serves initial dental and it serves an initial denial authority and act on FOAI requests and records pertaining to environmental activities and records relate litigation of the United States has interest. 118, the Surgeon General of the TSGs approve human health risk assessment and review environmental hazards, the ecological risk of assignment, provide human health aspects, installation activities, operation to include those associated aspects associated with environmental contamination, integrated environmental awareness, technical information into the training program sponsored the Army Medical Department. AMED serves as the local lead agent to the DoD. Army representative national negotiation serves as the agents of toxic substances, diseases regulatory registry, developing toxicology, provides concerning chemical hazardous substances commonly found in military installation, developing proper pros human health safety, environmental standards for the chemical agents, explosive commands on regulated compounds with such standards do not exist, identify pollution related to ecological effects topical requiring research development, initiate needed research of the AMED responsibility to provide taxology and exposure to required to support human health and risk, advise human health aspects of environmental issues including non-imminent, substantial and danger, KISS, and determine environmental responsive action overseas. Provide technical assistance to help in health and requested environmental aspects of program initiatives, coordinate with the human ecological health risk assessment, portions of active installations, BRAC and FUDs of distribution dock, the DE propagate policy of disposition of dental, veterinary, medical, and pharmaceutical waste, provide 2 representatives, voting members of AFB, EMB, designate personnel to deserve DoD pest management certification official of the Army, unified personnel per DoD policy procedures, coordinate OACSIM for surveillance prevention of control medically important to pest disease vectors, occupational health, exposure for pest management and operations, provide health environmental risk communication support to all Army assets, include training, consulting, conflict management, facility develop policy, occupational public health, all Army environmental activities, and the U.S. Army Medical MedCom and U.S. Army Center of Health Promotion and Preventive Medicine, USACH, PPBM. Will 1. Plan, organize, budget, execute medical support Army environmental program. 2. Serve as decision authority determines the public health threat arising from the Army environmental activities. 3. Provide broad range of expertise as service to environmental health and occupational health, medicine to evaluate health aspects environmental program. 4. Provide environmental health support, environmental media, Army of DoD elements. Requested. 5. Assisted maintenance, military item disposal, instruction, MIDI, DoDs, provide preventional medicine leadership services, anticipate, identify, assess, and control environmental occupational health threats, provide environmental health occupational expertise, provide services supporting training, operation, acquisition, research, development to assist the health risks associated with the Army environmental Programs, activities support USACE in coordination with execution at AEPAS 119. The Army Command, Army Service Component, Command of Direct Reporting Unit Commanders, ACOM, ASCC, DRUs, Commanders including the outside continental United States. OCONUS is used as a regulation and director of NGB, RNG, performing ACOM, ASCC, DRUs relative to the State Army National Guard, the State Adjutant General when performing ACOM, ASCC, DRU role related to the State Army National Guard, a major subordinate MCS or a major subordinate commands. ACOM, ACC, DRU's commanders will, consistent in headquartered DA policy provided by oversight policy guidance for source of subordinate commands and activities executed mission related to aspects of environmental program to include training, deploy, industrial operations, research, technology, testing, activities, operation other than war than other property operations activity not falling on the direction of the control supporting garrison installation commanders that ensure the subordinate units comply with the policy standards and installation of which they are attendants ensure of subordinate units with the applicable laws, the regulations, the internal directives, goals, the EOUs, and oversees of FGS, fully integrated environmental consideration, ACOM, ACC, DRU missions requirements, participate in final, fully support in installation, internal and external assessment, audits, implementation, current activities, support environmental awards, activities ensurely assigned environmental staff is efficient and well-trained. ACOM, ACAC, DRU commanders exercise command and control installation will execute the same responsibility listed under paragraph 113. Commander ICOM, with the following exception, the environmental requirements must be submitted by the ACOM, ACC, DRU's, NGB, Army National Guard chain of command unless otherwise specified by the ISSA. ACOM, ASCC, DRU commanders monitoring track environmental performance subordinate installations. Additional Commander U.S. Army North, USAR North will provide upon personnel resources support national response teams, NRT, regional response, RT, response to environmental agencies, requesters, and reimburse the cost of the support. Serve as the lead for all phases of mobilization, deployment, redeployment, operations, environmental space support activities related to national emergency. 120, the Commander General of the U.S. Army Forces Command, the Commanding General of CG, the U.S. Army Force Command, FORSCOM, will inoperable environmental planning requirements, mobilization, regardless of the appropriate coordinating the IMCOM DCSG 357 on the environmental support of the mission activities and include training, exercise, range operation missions, MILCON, provide exploit oaths of ordnance disposal, EOD, units of emergency response activities. 521, the Commanding General, U.S. Army Material Command. The Commanding General, U.S. Army Material Command will provide technical assistance to an acquisition program manager, program executive office as required to ensure the integration of environmental quality consideration in all aspects, acquisition program, weapon systems life, such acquisitions, maintenance, disposal, demilitarization, environmental research, development, testing, evaluation, and technical investigation and support of mission activities, support ASA, ALT efforts, and develop an integrated environmental and quality system technology program management of the portion of the program to support the acquisition local or logistics industrial base of other users needed, coordinated acquisition logistics industrial base users needed as USAS, ACSIM areas impacting installation, EQT, executive law, low-level radioactive waste, LLRW management, including disposal, contract and provisions, operations, government-owned, contractor-operated GOGU facilities to meet and remain compliant with emergent environmental legal mandates, protecting Army and liability and fines, access to control operations, review, revise military specification standards, drawings with appropriate to eliminate, reduce, and extremely hazardous substances and toxic chemicals, coordinate in this effort and program offices required. ACES conduct ACOM responsibility for installation under the purview of C paragraph 1910. The Commanding General Army of the U.S. Army Training Doctrine Command. The Commanding General U.S. Army Training Doctrine Command CG TRIDOC will ensure the development, implementation of environmental training doctrine program products and support military readiness operation are consistent with the regulatory requirements of environmental policy, ensuring the U.S. Army engineering can solicit prepares environmental training packages as required as soldiers, makes them available online through the Army AKO Knowledge, appropriate websites, ensure requirements of documents incorporate environmental resources statement, lessons learned, and all appropriate Army and joint doctrinal publications or references, all training procedures, technical training manuals, training documents, requirements, documentations, and sound environmental practices and procedures. Coordinate OACSIM regarding establishment of staffing, training standards, and modified tables, organization, equipment, MOTO tables of distribution allowance, TDA, and the design environmental officers, ensure environmental officers' responsibility consistent with the regulatory requirements of Army environmental policies. The F ensures the organization units are designed with the equipment and personnel to be established in environmental requirements. 123. Senior mission commanders SMC comply with installation policies applicable federal, state, local, environmental law and just law regulations, EAOs, and overseas FGSs and agreements participating in installation planning, substantial and EMS, designated representative environmental quality control of EQCC. Ensure personnel receive appropriate environmental training, coordination, testing, and fielding technology within the garrison commander. Participate in full support in internal, external assessment and audits, and maintain corrective actions. Funding and environmental requirements not covered in the standard installation services of the ISSAA. This does not apply to the military units appointed to the traded environmental officers to ensure the operational compliance coordinated with installation and environmental staff, and immediately report the spills, release petroleum hazardous substances, hazardous waste to the GC, and participate in development integrated national cultural resource management plan to ensure that they are compatible with the support of the mission in conjunction with the GC environmental requirements of the impact ranges training land of incorporated installation range complex master plan with appropriate coordinated JALS early on environmental agreements, including and not limited to fine and penalties, settlement and agreements, and prior to signing them. 124. The garrison commander, usually regulation commander, U.S. Army Reserves, regional readiness support commanders, RRSCs, the state adjuntants general related to the concept of state installation, OCONUS, U.S. Army garrisons, GAC, appropriated determined IMCOM, headquarters, NGB, RNG, state of adjuntants, general, GAC, ensure the base support activities of military training, readiness, operation, enhanced mission, and accomplishment are conducted in the manner conducive environmental stewardship, comply with applicable federal, state, local environmental regulations, internal directive goals, EOs, and overseas FGs, and investigated regulatory enforcement actions, complaints, spill releases, corrective, systematic problems, documentation, investigation, negotiation, resulting in enforcement, submitting the respective chain of command of the ODEP and through technical legal channels, JLs, environmental requirements, impact ranges, training land, identified incorporated installation range complex masters, and effective SMMC is made aware in this aspect installation activities and incorporatable and applicable environmental requirements and procurement applications, applying for sign range funding, maintaining all applicable federal, state, local environmental permits and incorporated potential mission and surge coordination conditions may apply applicable permits. Maintain appropriate environmental records is required by law, coordinated by JLs, all environmental agreements, including but not limited to fine and penalties, submit agreement prior to signing them. The garrison commander may not delegate and approve a signature authority. Ensuring compliance with the consent orders to attribute the tenant commission and the operations are coordinated with the applicable legal command channels to determine appropriated funded activity. K. The excess of the long-term resource impact of environmental agreements, coordinated with the resource implementation agreements for the command and channels of IMCOM, the National Guard Bureau, Army National Guard, the ACOM, and the ACACS, and the DRUs appropriate prior to their approval. To ensure that the non-DOD hazard matter non-DOD HM that is HM owned or used by non-DOD entities is not stored and treated and disposed of in installation unless approved by the ASA, INE, and he or his her authority. Ensure installation strategy Strategic planning officer equivalent cooperative sustaining priorities, strategic installation management, coordinated installation, strategic plans, SMC, and prior finalization, implementation, installation, wide hazards management, wide materials management program, HMMP, promote recycling, reusing program, green procurement policy, organized chairing. Installation EQCC, organized chairing, installation technical review committee, restoration advisory board, TRC, RAAB, required implementation, maintaining the mission, focus of the EMS in accordance with the ISO 1400, I believe 1401 standard. The third-party registration standard is not required. Environmental funds will not be used, and for this purpose, however, GNC may pursue the third-party registration when it provides clear and documentation mission benefits, championing installation, EMS designation, EMS representation, appropriate organization, planning cell, ensuring all planning incorporates requirements of EMS, participating EMPA as to conduct an annual internal environmental compliance assessment and coordinated with the assessment with the tenant, prepare, execute its instruction corrective action plan, and coordinate, monitor completion, installation-wide corrective actions, ensure all environmental programs are completed and implemented by guidance in Chapter 3, designate personnel who will be responsible accountable for executing major program requirements prescribed in Chapter 4 through 14, dispose that all procedures of conversation reimbursable program as outlined in Section 265, Title 10, United States Code 2665, Section 2667, Title 10, U.S. Standard Code 10 U.S.C. 2667, and Section 67A and 67B, or 670A and 670B, Title 16 U.S. Standard Code 16, U.S. Standard Code 670A and 670B, Sykes Act. Serves as federal agency official responsibility, information compliance with Native American Grave Protection Reparation Act, the NAGPRA, established government in relations to federal reorganized Indian tribes, national Native Alaskans, maintain public affairs program, encourages public involvement. AB, ensures the installation master plan incorporated environmental considerations. AC, identifying environmental requirements forward for the command and channels, maintaining auditable records. AD, executing environmental budget to meet the critical requirements, maintaining efficient, well-trained environmental staff, and ensuring all Army legal enforcement personnel is training conversation where appropriate. AG, ensure that all sufficient numbers of professional trained natural surface resource management personnel, natural resource law enforcement personnel available assigned for the responsibility to perform tasks and as necessary comply to Section 670 and Title 16 United States Code 16 U.S. Standard Code 670, approval for records of decisions, ROD decision, the documentation, DD, environmental response action within the delegated approval authority, approve integrated national resource management, NRPS, and hold tenant and units applicable, complying with the policy standards and installation, approve annual reports, availability, ROA, timber states, timber sales after review of high court of the USAEC, and designate installation wildland and fire program management, approved integrated wildfire management plan. 125 medical department activity, medical care, health services support area commanders, medical department activity, medical center, health services support activity, medicine, and has commanders will comply with applicable federal, state law enforcement regulations, the EOs, and oversee FGS's disposal, non-resource conversion, Innovation Recovery Act, RCRA, submit C, medical, dental, veterinary, and pharmaceutical regulated medical waste in accordance with AR 40-5 applicable education, verify the disposal requirements of the MDI system, updated, maintain the USAC HBP, and ensure the regulated medical manifests are only assigned individuals who have appropriately trained and authorized writing to the activity commander, supervisor, appointed trained environmental officer, and ensure operational compliance coordinated with the installation of environmental staff and coordinated with the medical waste management plans. Advise health aspects of installation and environmental program, provide technical installation support services, and identify environmental requirements, forward with command and channels, maintain auditable records. 126 tenants. The tenant is authorized activity located in installation that is not part of the garrison organization. This includes and is not limited to military units, the Army, Air Force, Exchange Services, AEF, ESC, Defense Commissionary Agency, DECA. Tenants will comply with installation policies applicable for federal, state, local environmental law regulations, EOs, and overseas FGS establishing an ISSA with the GC advisory environmental oversight to include funding responsibility faculty access that does not apply to the military units participate in installating planning sustainability EMS notify. However, installation should evaluate the liabilities concerning non-governmental tenants to determine whether an accepted from the installation EMS designation representative EQC ensure policy require receive required environmental training, participate in external assessment and audits, including program and corrective actions, funding and environmental requirements not covered by the standard installation services of the ISSA. This does not apply to the military units that submit environmental requirements of the ACOM, AHTC, DRU headquarters, higher headquarters, and this does not apply to the military units. Identify and coordinate with non-specific environmental requirements of the garrison commander and pay environmental fines penalties resulting from the mission activities and immediately report spills, releases, hazardous substances on scene. Coordinator OSC pay and reimbursement associated with cleanup, spill response, and covered in the state installation services. The ISSA report all installation non-compliance notification enforcement of GC and immediately ensure non-DoD hazards is stored and treated and disposed of installation unless approved for OSA, OASSA, INE. He is or her design and higher authority. 127 is commanders of government-owned and contractor-operated Jigoku facilities will coordinate with contracting officers, ensure contract including provisions with the operation of the Goku facilities to meet and remain complement environmental legal mandates to protect Army liability and or files or fines Army liability and or fines assessed by due and contractor operational comply installation applicable federal state law or federal, state, local environmental law and regulations. EOs ensure contractors assume responsibility for management disposable contract general solid HW ensure the DoD hazardous materials not stored, treated, disposed of installation unless approved by OSA and INE. His or her design higher authority to dispose of all proceeds conversion reimbursement procedures outlined by Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 265 and Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 2667 and 16 U.S. Standard Code 6070B. Execute EMS responsibility in accordance with contract provisions, assessment, long-term resource impacts, environmental agreements, coordination with the acquisition, community coordination with resource implication agreements for the command channels as appropriate prior to the approval. Ensure all contractors personnel receive appropriate levels of training, environmental awareness, hazardous materials, waste management, installation, EMS. 128 immunity commanders will instill environmental ethic in soldiers, civil, and under command. Ensure personnel receives environmental training, comply installation policies applicable for federal, state, local environmental laws, regulation, EOs, and environmental FGSs. Report non-compliance spills and appropriate channels, GSC, and cooperate environmental responsibility, environmental risk management into the SOP operation orders the OPORDS is appropriate integrated environmental consideration for planning execution processes in accordance with the FM 3103-100.4 appointment of training environmental officers appropriate organizational levels to ensure compliance with the actions take place of FM 3-34-500 environmental officer responsibility support installation wide EMS. Chapter 2 Environmental Policy.